everyone. In today's video tutorial, we are going to look at the solution to two important questions, question number 5 and question number 6. And this is typical of questions that you see as you sit for the Neco Neco examination. And for West African candidates, WAEC, those who sit for WAEC and GCE. This is precisely Neco 2021 past question, objective part, question 5 and 6. So, but this question is peculiar to all high school students, wherever you may be. You are doing GCSE, you are doing Cambridge examination, whatever exam you are taking, you can see a question like this. Question number 5 says a particular bank pays 50 kobo dividends per share. What will be the percentage yield for a customer who invests 5 naira? That's supposed to be naira per share. Now the customer invested 5 naira per share, not dollar. It should be 5 naira per what? Per share. Now the bank dividends is what? 50 kobo per what? 50 kobo per share. Now we are going to look at how we'll solve this question and then get our final solution. And we are going to take this question part by part. Remember, it's a word problem question, and once you can understand the question, then you can be able to what? To solve it. Now, the first thing we have to think of now is the what? The bank. The bank is paying 50 kobo. That is what they say is their dividends per. That is what they say is their dividends for the bank. So we are going to look at the bank paying what? 50 what? 50 kobo. The bank is paying 50 kobo per what? Per share. The bank is paying 50 kobo per what? Per share. Now, if the bank is paying 50 kobo per share, now what do we need to bear in mind? Now, an investor or a customer come and invested 5 naira per share. Now, remember, the customer investment is in what? Is in naira, and is not in what? Is not in what? Kobo. So the first thing that should come to our mind is to convert that naira, which is what? Which is 5 naira, is to convert the 5 naira, which is the amount per share, is to convert it to what? To kobo. And that will give us the amount the customer invested in terms of what? Kobo. Now, we are going to look at a conversion factor, and that conversion factor will come to see that 1 naira is equivalent to 100 what? Kobo. So if 1 naira is equivalent to 1 naira is equivalent to 100 kobo, then 5 naira will give us how much? 5 naira will give us what? 5 naira times what? 5 naira times 100 kobo divided by what? Divided by 1 naira. So naira will cut naira. So we'll have what? We'll have 500 divided by 1, which will give us what? 500 what? Kobo. So that means the customer's investment is what? Is 500 what? 500 kobo. That's what the per share, that is what the customer invested. Now we are asked to find the percentage yield the customer will have. Now, if the particular bank pays 50 kobo dividends per share, the customer percentage yield, the customer percentage yield should be equal to the customer investment over the what? The bank dividend per share, because both of them are the amount per what? Per share. So that will give us what? That will give us this kobo divided by what? Divided by 50 what? Kobo. Kobo will cut kobo, 0 will cut 0, and then we'll have 5 here, 1. 5 here will give you 1, and we will be left with what? We'll be left with what? 10% what? Yield. So you see, the amount, the percentage yield for the customer who invested 5 naira will be what? Will be 10% yield. So that means the person will get 10% of the 5 naira he invested after that particular period. So our correct option is what? Option D. Now, in the next question, question number 6, we will be, our knowledge on standard form will be seriously tested. Now, if you are doing standard form, there are some things you should bear in mind. One of those most important thing you should bear in mind is when you count your what? Your decimal values. When you convert your decimal numbers to standard form. Now, as regard this question, we are going to convert all the values there to standard form in order for we to be able to get the solution accurately. Now, in standard form, when you are solving question, when you are changing decimals to what? When you are changing decimals to fraction, let's say this is 0.0006 and you want to convert it to fraction. If you are counting this way, the power you are going to get is going to be a negative power. But when you are counting this way, the power you're going to get is going to be a positive what? A positive power. Now let's assume I'm counting from here 1, 2, 3, and I counted to here. This value will give me 6.0. You counted 1, 2, 3, 4 times what? Times 10 raised to power minus what? Minus 4, because I counted 4 points after the what? After the decimal place. You get that? So that is exactly how you go about counting what? Counting decimal. Now let's look at the solution to this question that has been given to us. Now we are told that 1.6 times 0.0084 divided by is dividing 0.0046, and we are asked to what? We are asked to find that value. So we are going to solve that value now. Now let's convert 1.6 to decimal. Converting 1.6 to a standard form, we are going to count from here. We are going to count from here to remove the what? We are going to count to remove the decimal what? We're going to count to remove the decimal point. So we'll count 1 away from what? We'll count 1 away from what? From this. So we'll count from here. We'll count from here. We'll count from here. Count from here to what? To here. We are counting backward. So our power will be, remember, we are more like taking the decimal off from what? Off from 16. So that will give us what? That will give us 16 times what? 10 raised to power what? Raised to power 1, because we are counting what? Backwards. Now, if we get that, we are going to have 16 times what? 10 raised to power 1 multiplied by, now we're going to convert 0.0084. Now this is going to be a negative counting, because we'll count from the left hand side to the right hand side. So we'll have 1, 2, 3, and what? And 4. So that will give us what? 84 times what? Times 10 raised to power minus what? Minus 4. So that will be all over what? We'll count the other one that same way. That will give us what? 1, 2, 3, and what? 4. And that will give us 48 times what? 10 raised to power minus what? 4. Good. So now we've converted everything to decimal. The next step is to isolate the what? The powers from the main number. So this will give us 16 times what? Times 84 all over 48 times 10 raised to power minus 1, 10 raised to power 1 multiplied by what? 10 raised to power minus what? 4. And all of them will be divided by what? 10 raised to power what? Minus 4. Now we are going to apply the laws of indices here to make our solutions very, very easy. Now, this is even, since we are in an examination situation, this will even cut this because they have the same words, they have the same power. So we'll have to simplify this whole thing and then get a solution right. So once we simplify this whole thing, if you simplify this whole thing, we are going to gradually get our solution. So that will give us 16 times 84 divided by 48. You have to point your calculator. If you do that, we are going to have our what? We're going to have 28 times what? Times 10 raised to power what? 1. Now let's check. Is 28 times 10 raised to power 1 in that option? The question is what? The answer is no, it's not in the option. So since it is not in the option, we are going to what? We're going to find a solution to that. Now, the 28 is a value that we need to what? We need to send back to what? Standard form. Now, to send 28 back to standard form, we'll have to count from what? We'll have to count from our right-hand side to our what? To our left-hand side, back to our left-hand side. And remember, if you are counting from the right-hand side to your left-hand side, the power you're going to get is a positive what? Is a positive power. So if we count from here to here, we're going to have our 2.8 times what? 10 raised to power what? 1. So that means 28 in that value will give us what? 2.8 times what? 10 raised to power 1 times what? 10 raised to power 1, which was what? Existing before. So 10 raised to power 1 plus, times 10 raised to power 1. Remember the laws of indices. If you have a raised to power 2 plus what? Times what? Times a raised to power 2 or 3, that is the law of multiplication of indices. This will give us a raised to power 2 plus what? Plus 2, and that will give us a raised to power what? 4. So if we apply that here, we're going to have our 2.8 times what? 10 raised to power 1 plus what? 1. So our final solution will be what? 2.8 times what? 10 raised to power what? 2. So as you can see, you will find that the solution is what? Is right, and our correct option is option E. So you see, solving questions like this is very, very easy so long as you know the principle guiding the conversion of numbers to decimal. Now, as a recap, I want you to note this as a recap. I want you to note that when you are converting decimal numbers, if you are counting, if you count from the left to the right, you power you're going to get is going to be a negative what? A negative power, and it is always done for what? For decimal values like this, decimal fractions like this. Why? If you have whole numbers like 16 or 200 or 300, and you are counting from your right to the left, you're going to have a positive what? You're going to have a positive power, which is what we have done. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you watch the the answers to question number 7 and 8, which will be published very, very soon. I look forward to seeing you watch that subsequent video. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, hit the subscribe button so that you can get that video once they are published. Thanks so much, and see you here.